Welcome to selfdiscoverywisdom.com, formerly known as Self-Discovery Media. On these podcasts, you're going to hear people who speak from the heart. They've taken the journey in life. Many things have happened to them, but they've changed it to happening for them. And in their strength, their courage, they've discovered their abilities and their wisdom, and they are now sharing it here with you. Do enjoy each show. We bring it to you with love and knowing that it's going to help you on your journey of life. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody. Welcome back to another edition of Ignite Your Heart and Soul, right here on selfdiscoverywisdom.com. I'm your host, Sarah Troy. My wonderful guest today is Linda Nardelli. She's also an author in the Mission Accepted 262, and I had the opportunity of meeting her recently, although it being fleeting because it was a rather chaotic evening, but wonderful to actually put a face-to-face, and she is as beautiful in person as she is in her pictures. We're going to be talking about her book today, Mystical Journey, but we're going to be also talking about being, she sees many spiritual seekers and devotees caught up in the need to be perfect, believing that is to be spiritually developed, emotions must be controlled. There is a common misconception that being detached, unaffected, and never triggered is a sign of being adept. Furthermore, many spiritual folks focus on practices such as meditation and yoga to control the human experiences rather than nourish their souls. She's interested in the integration and respecting human nature as a conduit for the divine. She has a fascination for people who feel that they don't belong in the world. You're talking to me. I believe that is because they are here to change it for the better. Yay! Many sensitives are insensitive creators, visionaries who feel out of place and struggle to belong and are needed more than ever because the vibration of our collective humanity needs to rise. She says the earth and our human collective are going through a huge transformation. Spiritual guidance is more important than ever in this age of chaos because chaos is a state of spiritual emergence. Yes, 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 yes. 100% agree to all of it. And yes, you could be talking about me. I have felt out of place pretty well my entire life. And that's because I was working on a different plane and a plane that others just looked at and thought, loopy.
Yeah.
Uh, but it is our time now where people are awakening and they're feeling sensitive, as they like to put it. But what it is, they're in tuning, aren't they? They're really kind of coming into their divine and understanding what that divine means and how it really is the answer to all our problems here on earth. Welcome to the show, Linda.
Oh, thank you for having me. I've been so looking forward to connecting with you and you're right. The other night for the 262 book launch, our time was too fleeting. So I'm
Yes,
glad to
yes,
connect
yes.
with
And
you
it was a little
again.
hard because there was a lot of music and a lot of people to kind of really kind of sit down and have that nitty-gritty conversation, which I wanted to
Oh.
have. But here we are. We have all this time to ourselves here now. Um, Spiritual awakening, as so many people are doing it. But they're not quite sure what they're awakening to. And then, as you've put in your first paragraph, it's like, well, now do I, meditate? I do this and structure it. And it isn't a structured thing, it is an allow thing, isn't it?
Yes, completely. I'm hearing about that, people awakening, and I've been in this on this journey for 35 years. So in my early 20s, I was very drawn to the spiritual life, and I said yes to God. I said yes to the goddess and all that is. And I said yes to Gaia, and I sought to be a clear conduit. That was my vision and my intention. And the word awakening was not as popular as it
No.
is now. So I look back at some of my experiences going, oh, I guess those were awakening experiences. I refer to them as expansions.
Yes, yes, yes. I like that. Expansion. Because if we just live in human form, we're living in a limited space altogether. And this is why we keep chasing our tails and looking, why doesn't that work? Why doesn't that work? Why doesn't that work? Because you're repeating the human experience, not the expansion of our divine experience.
Oh, beautifully said. And in that human experience, we divide ourselves, we
Mm.
segregate,
Hmm.
and we live by, and that's something I talk about in the 262 I wrote about in that book. And it's that we live in this hierarchical system with the three lies that we're told, this idea that we're better than
Yeah.
or lesser than.
Hmm.
And the most confusing lie that we're told since the time we come into this world is that we're equal. We're an equal. And there couldn't be anything furthest from the truth. I think it's more honest to say that we're different.
Yeah.
Because to
Yeah.
say that we're equal, well, I see some people that you can think of some people that are more privileged or have
Mm.
more opportunities. And it's between men and women. I mean, where's the equality?
Yes. Yes.
So that's
Yes. Yes. We would like equal rights and equal opportunity, but not all of us are equal, because if we embrace our own differently abledness, our own
yes.
uniqueness, we will understand that we're all a different instrument in the orchestra of life. And we're
Oh,
not all meant to play the same instrument the same way. We all bring our own beautiful flavor, our own idiosyncrasies that actually add to the music, as long as we're willing to play in harmony with each other.
that's beautifully said. And it's so necessary.
Mm.
I'm also a painter. I'm an
Mm-hmm.
artist, and I created a work of art that I refer to that. It was all around embracing each other's differences.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that's hard.
Yes.
It's so challenging. And this idea that we're equal is often said from the same perspective as we're the same, but being the same means we want to be alike.
Mm-hmm.
But we're not.
No.
And we get triggered by differences. We live in a society, and that human, the denseness of our human collective,
Mm-hmm.
that's still very much ensconced in the field of fear, the field of survival. And this is, yeah, survival. We want to feel safe. And how do we feel safe? By making the other the same as us.
Why? Why? Because then we're disappointed that they're not the same. And we're glad that they're not the same. And it just brings out so many mixed emotions that why can we not? There's a beautiful word that I learned a little while ago called flawsome. And through our lives,
Awesome.
we realize we're flawed, but or maybe even cracked. The experiences crack our bowl of life. And instead of looking at it as faulty, it is a flaw that when the Japanese put the bowls back together with gold, it becomes more of a thing. I say, put yourself back together with love.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And
Mm-hmm.
with a bowl now that has had many cracks, many life experiences, many ups and downs, and you've put yourself back together with love, you're unbreakable now. You can take anything in that bowl because that love is what holds it together.
Yeah. And it's movable, it's
Mhm.
changeable, it's
Yeah.
adaptable. It's not rigid. That
No.
bowl, it's
Yeah.
not rigid. And that's the thing, being a conduit for spirit.
Hmm.
These define and clear practices that we believe we have to do. Like I have a friend of mine who comes and he gives me a list. It's almost like a bragging rights of telling me that he meditates an hour a day and he's doing this course and that training, and it gives me the list of everything that he understands.
Hmm.
And after 20 minutes, I feel full. I
Exhausted.
and exhausted. Where's the sharing? Where's the curiosity
Yeah.
about my own meditative state? But obviously, I can't have one. I can't be on par if I'm not doing the same thing.
Mm,
But I'm
yes.
not. I'm not a regular meditator.
No, nor am I. Life
I'm,
is a meditation.
yeah, I want to take pauses
Yeah.
throughout the whole day
Yes. Yes.
and remember to breathe throughout the whole day
Mm,
and see and sense more.
yeah.
So that I can notice when the walls are closing in, when my own mind is negating my source energy, when my body is, there's I'm going through some changes. you know, there's we're put our house on the market and this with our plan to move to the island, so near you. Yeah.
Yeah. Great move. You will not regret it.
So I'm so looking forward to it. And there's a waiting period and an anticipation period,
Hmm.
and it brings up the past.
Yes.
And it's not logical.
Mm-mm. Mm-mm.
And my
Mm-mm.
meditation in that is being with the discomfort. And I teach that with people. I teach that in the Soul Circle of membership, the group that I do, around being willing to stay in the discomfort, stay in what's showing up. Because we have so many avoidance strategies, so many
Hmm.
ways. It's like wanting others to be like us is an avoidance strategy.
Yeah.
Now we're avoiding their differences or we're
Yes.
avoiding ours
Hmm.
because it
Hmm.
feels awkward, it feels uncomfortable. I
Yeah.
have a different opinion than the other person.
Mm. Yes. And, being uncomfortable, it helps us actually understand, well, if this is making me uncomfortable, the big question is why? Now, is it
Mhm.
just because I've already said goodbye to one place and I've just moved here to Nanaimo from Victoria, so 6 weeks ago. So I know about that trepidation. I was waiting a year to find a place, and then when I found a place, got to wait a couple of months before I moved. And it's like you feel in limbo and you feel in flux, and then the what ifs want to come in.
Oh,
Right. And it's like, sorry. No, I'm going to a home that is my sanctuary. I've been asking the universe for a sanctuary, for a place that is I can feel at home in. Last home, 35th actual physical home. I've had other temporary ones, but this is the last one. Thank you. And instead of the trepidation, why don't we change it to excitement? Right? And why do we immediately go to the fear or the worry or the anxiety? Yeah, it's a pain in the butt to pack up and move. The
Mhm.
actual moving is exhausting. I'm still unpacking and trying to find places. But why don't we look at it to the excitement? Oh, what if I meet new people? What if I get to do this?
Oh,
What if I get to do
oh.
that? Right? Why do we automatically go to the other side?
Automatically.
Yeah.
Well, I've been conversing with these different parts of me, and I came to realize it's very interesting. I've been hearing that word a lot. Excitement. Oh, I'm excited. I even hear myself say it, and I hear my
Hmm.
husband say it, and I've been hearing some women in the 262, and then in the different groups, they're so excited about something, and I've been feeling extremely reactive to that word. And then I sat down. Why is this word bothering me? Why is this feeling? Because I need that.
Hmm.
Asking Dia, the spirits that I channel, they teach us to give our 100% to life. That we've got to engage wholeheartedly. What is excitement but that full, wholehearted engagement? But it's really big into triggers. So I went in and I had a vague memory of my mother saying that to me. Yet
Ah.
another move. So just to give you an idea of where this is coming from, some context, I went to three kindergartens, three grade ones, failed grade one, went to another grade one, three grade twos. I mean, what I mean by that is three different schools.
Yes.
So by the time I was 16, I had gone to 17 schools.
Wow. I did five. I thought that was enough. 17.
Yeah.
Did they
So
treat you as a stranger everywhere you went?
everywhere,
Yeah.
everywhere. And then the kids would like me for about a week.
Hmm.
I was a new thing, but then I was wounded. I was
Hmm.
timid. I had lost my mother
Hmm.
young. There was a lot of stuff going on at home.
Yeah.
So that's, how could how can you maneuver that
Yeah.
with kids, and everything is raw, and they just want you to be like them. Why aren't you
Hmm.
playing sports like us? And why are
Yes.
you
Fit
sensitive?
in.
Why aren't you fitting in? It's like,
Yeah.
damn it, I didn't fit in. So yeah, I just came to realize that my mother must have used that. Oh, Linda, it'll be so exciting, a
Mm.
new school.
Yet
Really?
another one.
Uh, a new move,
Yeah.
and while they split up or got back together, my
Mm.
parents are. And I started to develop a distrust of that.
Mm-hmm.
It's like this idea of love. You know, even that word for some people can be a
Yes.
trigger because love came with abuse.
False love. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, I'm
Yeah.
doing
Or
this because I love you. Yeah. I don't need that kind of love. Thank you very much. Yeah.
yeah, and love from people that were unwell
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
psychologically,
Mm-hmm.
so as a sensitive, I would feel
Yeah.
the incongruency,
Mm-hmm.
words and energy being two different things.
Yeah.
So now I'm just like I have to create my own relationship with excitement,
Yes. Mm-hmm.
my own definition of that for myself. In a somatic way, because cognitively I get it,
Yeah.
but somatically, that's where the gems lie.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, how can we digest these concepts, digest this conversation? And I think it's in the body, somatically.
I agree. Yeah. Our body, with the trillions of cells there, holds memories, especially wounded ones.
Yes.
And half the time you go, but I thought I cleared that. Why has that come back? And what the hell is this now? You know? And it's like, we've got to understand I'm turning 70 this year. So I've got a lot of memories in there. And some ain't so good. And I thought I had dealt with them. And then all of a sudden, whew, it comes up to the surface. But it isn't coming up to the surface to get us. It's coming up to the
Yeah.
surface for you to address it. And sometimes all you need to do is just wrap some love around it and say, I've got you. I see
Mm.
you. I feel you. You are safe. And we don't say that to our inner child. We don't say that to our inner trauma. And very often that trauma is unresolved. It will never be resolved. But sometimes all it needs is love, a
I
loving
think,
hug of I'm there for you.
yes, yes. That's that's it.
Mm,
Those core wounds, they don't get resolved.
yeah.
When I did first went into therapy in my mid 20s, and I worked with this incredible therapist for 5 years. It was highly spiritual, and it really helped me attune to my intuition.
Mm,
And when I took my training late 20s, and when I started my counseling practice, I was setting out to heal, which is
yes.
to make
Hmm.
better.
Hmm.
We're resolving and we're getting rid of this stuff. And I remember having a client, and she would say to me, like, we did a clearing practice, or a deep energy healing, and she says, "Have we gotten rid of it? Have we gotten rid of it?" And I could feel her whole body contract back together.
Mm,
I'm like, this isn't what's needed.
no,
This isn't what healing is.
no.
Healing is not about, it's like, oh, you have a sore arm, you're going to cut it off.
Yeah, exactly. I say, we can delete and get rid of the emotion around it, but we can't get rid of the memory of it. I think it's changing the way we look at it.
Oh,
It's the old added thing. Did it happen to me or did it happen for me? What did I
oh,
become because
yeah.
of it? And I think if we can look at it and go, yes, but out of that, this is how I grew. And looking at it differently, you're never going to change what happened, or maybe even the feeling around what happened to a point. But what we don't want is to become emotional around it, because that's the emotion is what holds us back from
Mhm.
becoming more than what we can be.
Yeah, it's the, oh, let's call them false emotions, or I'm gonna
Hmm.
find a different word, like a
Memory
false
emotions, and they always become more
interpretation.
dramatic.
Yeah, and it comes from a false interpretation.
Yes. Mm,
So the emotion just wants to
yeah.
flow through, and it gets stopped. It gets damned
Hmm.
by these interpretations,
That
and,
magnify.
and magnify it and create really a contraction in the body,
Yeah.
an unexpansion.
Yes.
Go back to that word expansion. And you mentioned early, around this whole concept of awakening. And I've had many people come to me who've had awakened experiences, and they've touched the divine. They felt the love you're talking about. They felt it. That's unhindered love. And then they said, but it fades, Linda. How do I maintain it? Or life and it comes along, and issues comes along, people come along, and they still have to figure out how to self-regulate and co-regulate, which is to be conscious of themselves and their environment. And I could see the attachment
Mm-hmm.
to that ascendancy. I could see that, how do I get back to there? And I can see them experiencing so much suffering because of the contrast.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
I want to make space for the contrast. I want to make space for that excitement that we were speaking of earlier, and the dread that lurks in the corner, the
Mm-hmm.
dread that says, well, I can't trust that. You can't? Oh, there's distrust here. Where are we feeling that in the body?
Mm-hmm.
How much space can we make for the distrust? Because the way I see it, let's say that when we're in a state of reaction, let's say it's like having the front door and back door and windows open, and we've got a draft going on, and the papers on the desk are flying about, and we've got to go and close the door and close the back door or the window, stop the draft.
Yes.
Then what we end up doing to compensate is we close everything off.
Mm-hmm.
And I say to people, let's open the front door.
Mm-hmm.
Let's open a conscious door. And when we open it, we let in the gremlins. We let in the anger. We let in the suffering. We let in the fear. We let in the disbelief, the core limiting beliefs. Like, oh, you're here. Of
Mm-hmm.
course you're here. We're going through some changes.
I don't believe we can do it.
Yeah, that comes in the door. Welcome. And then comes the divine. Then comes spirit. Then it's a love that isn't from us,
Mm-hmm.
but through us.
Yeah.
And I think that's when you talk about love, Sarah, I think that's what you're talking about. That kind of love that's moving through you, that you're allowing.
Yes. Yes. The word allow I use a great deal. And that allowing very often is what I call nothingness. There isn't a fault here at the present time. There isn't an action here at the present moment. It's just, I trust, I surrender, I allow. And
Mm.
in that is that you can just feel, you feel I'm safe. It's okay for me to be in a state of nothingness right now and trust and allow, for what will be revealed is what I am meant to see and experience.
Yeah.
Even if it's not good, it's there for a reason. And
Hmm.
when you recognize it's not good, well, I don't have to stay here. But why am I here having this experience? There's always a reason behind things. The universe isn't out to punish and get you. It gives you these experiences to show you, A, how strong, resilient, and courageous you are, and the abilities that you never thought you had, but also in empathy and understanding of what somebody else may be going through because you felt it just for a moment. And in that understanding, you can recognize it better in others and you can be more compassionate. And I think that's whatever we go through in life. Oh, why is God doing this to me? No, it's not to you, it's for you. What you made out of it was your
Yeah.
choice, unknowingly or knowingly. I call it the Fox News syndrome. They take a pimple and make it into a volcanic eruption, right? And we're inclined to do the same because we're
We
all a little
are.
melodramatic, right? And I can recognize that in me, so certainly with certain people that I know that I have that trigger with. And it's like I have to recognize that perhaps I am making more out of this, or maybe it is just kind of being the blank slate around them and not being, I have to adjust the way I am, which why should I is one question. But the other is they're not ready. right? And sometimes you just cannot be the full version of yourself around people. Sometimes you just have to be a few drops at a time before they trust what they're feeling from you.
Yes. And it's remembering in it
Mm.
that we're strong and resilient. We are resourceful. It's remembering that.
Yeah.
Because that giving a drop at a time, well, for me personally, sometimes it leaves me feeling like unfulfilled.
Yeah.
Sometimes it leaves me feeling repressed.
Hmm.
So
Yes. Yes.
yeah, so
I
so
think
like
it's not an don't do it all the time,
yeah,
right?
do
Because that
short
is
periods of
it's
time.
short periods of time with certain people, but the level they're at. Um, but you want to turn that tap on every time you see them for a lot more drops, right? So, but don't minimize yourself,
Oh,
for everybody. Sometimes that tap needs to be full flowing and filling
oh.
up the tank, right?
And I'm going to remember this image when I find myself in those kinds of situations, especially with family.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to just imagine the tap dripping and know how in time that will fill the
It
sink,
will.
that will fill the
It will.
vessel.
And the thing is, it's always when it's family, it's
Yeah.
harder to deal with. Like if the friends or other people, it's much easier. They're not ready. I'll leave the top drip and come back when it's a bit full. But when it's family, what you want to do is turn on that full tap. I want you to feel like I feel, but they're only
Mhm.
ready for the drops.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I understand, like every drop creates an ocean, every grain of sand creates a beach. And allow the
Mhm.
time and allow the journey that they're going through is the one they're meant to go through. And and this I'm sure you see when people kind of finally wake up to this and they're so enthusiastic about it. They want everyone to feel it. You got to feel like I'm feeling. But we all wake up to it and become it at our own stages of life. And we can't turn around to other people and say, we can invite them to come and join us, but we can't demand that they be where we're at because they're still on their journey.
My father taught me that years ago. I remember we were on the phone and I was talking about my younger sister and I'm like, why doesn't you do therapy? And I have great resources for her and
Mm.
she could be seeing a healer and it's around something that was occurring in her life. And he said to me, Linda, your sister isn't you.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
lesson after lesson of letting go, of
Yeah.
requiring others to be like us
Yes.
and being adaptive to who they are,
Mm-hmm.
which can feel limiting. And yet, the word adapting,
Mm-hmm.
that word is really ringing here for me right now. Because I think it's a generosity. When you're doing that with family, when you're like, oh, I'm gonna lessen the flow,
Yeah.
or I'll accommodate my energy for the other person.
Yes.
There's generosity in that.
There is. It's not sacrificial. It's understanding. You could actually repel them by being too much of who you are. They're
Mhm.
not there. They're not ready. You're too much of a force.
Yeah.
And so it's coming in as a gentle wave, right? Not a tsunami. And, like just letting the waters brush their feet, right? And
Mm.
it's their journey. And, I have a brother who's an author, and his spirituality comes out in his books. Absolutely. But to talk to him in real life, he sounds like a moo cow. No, it'll never work. No, you know. uh, but when he writes, he's multidimensional. And I have a sister who is completely just black and white, right? And it's this is the way you've got to do it, and that is that, right? And has never got what I do. Oh, I'm very proud of you, but do you know what I do? And so one time she even called me a do-gooder communist. It's what I do, which is I'm still trying to work out where that one came from, but I am never going to get her to truly see who, what I do, though she does see that I'm a better person for it, right? So
Mm.
sometimes some people are never going to get there, right?
Yeah.
And you choose what I call a channel to work with them on. We
Hmm.
stay within that channel. I don't go down the um, Pandora box of politics and the next crisis that's going on that she thrives on. And I don't go to, the spirituality. So we stay in a channel that we can thrive on. And then we're fine there. We're fine
Yeah.
there. As long as we don't go out of our channels. Don't expect everybody to be always on the same channel. It is a delight when you meet
When
people
they're,
that are,
oh.
right? I can be utterly myself. It's wonderful. But you're
Hmm.
not being less than when you're channeling with people where they're at, because they're still being inspired by who you are, maybe not understanding what you're doing, and maybe not even comprehending who you are, but knowing that you are wholer for it. And that
Mm.
rubs off in them in some way.
Yeah, they may not know that consciously,
Yeah.
but it's there in the field. It's there in the
Yes.
shared field. If we're not guarding ourselves against the differences, if we're
Hmm.
not um, letting the smaller bandwidth
Yes.
shrink us even more, like we can
Mm-hmm.
take up all the space in that bandwidth, in that channel, like you're saying, we can take up all our space there. Just not to the extent that maybe we yearn for.
Yeah. Yeah.
But how do we do that and stay connected to the yearning? That's something that I write in Mystical Intimacy is
Hmm.
developing.
Which I have right up there on
I
the shelf.
saw, I
Yes,
saw
yes,
right
yes.
there.
My guest book up on the shelf there.
Well, there's a key message in throughout every chapter, and there's a chapter all for this idea of connecting with our longing, or better
Mm,
said, to develop an intimate relationship with our longing.
yeah.
Because that's easy to abandon.
Mm,
It's easy to abandon pleasure and desire.
hmm.
Because the world of excitement,
Yeah.
that's it's pleasure.
Hmm.
And the moment we're in a disbelief, we're not feeling the pleasure anymore. We're not feeling the pleasure of anticipating.
Yeah.
We're not feeling the pleasure of our dreaming. And to me, that pulls us away from our vision. It pulls us away from that place of being an open conduit, an open and clear conduit for the divine,
Centered. Yeah.
centered.
I think because when we're centered, it doesn't matter. The chaos can be around us and it may hit the outer skirts of ourselves. But when we're centered, we can weather any storm, right?
Yes.
It's what we don't want to be is off kilter from our center.
I say to people, I say, no matter which way you're pulled,
Mm,
and I'll do this physically, I'll just describe it for your listeners that are listening to audibly, but I just rock left to right or frontward and forward. You could be pulled in any direction, up, down.
hmm.
But there's something that is consistent no matter what direction you're in, and it's your axis.
Yes. Yes.
It's
Yes.
always there. Your center is eternal. It's always there. It hasn't abandoned you. You're there.
Mm,
So how what do we need to cultivate to stay connected? It's like to know that, oh, there's my axis.
hmm.
There's the
Yeah.
pivoting.
Yeah.
So we know how much is too much, how
Mm.
much is not enough. So we're listening to that signaling from within.
I mean, sometimes we can feel like a spinning ball,
Hmm.
but the spinning ball has always got that center,
Yes.
right? And it's like, don't get caught in the outer skirts of the spin,
Yes.
right? Come from, when we say from the inside out, it's from the core of your being, extend out.
Yes.
You can weather those chaos. I live a lot in chaos.
Yes. Well,
Um,
these are ages of, this is an age of chaos. It's hard to
Absolutely.
not
And
live in.
do you find that it is out of the chaos you produce some form of order? And it's not the human order, right? It's
Mm,
the divine order. And there's the difference. I think for a while I got caught up because I was born spiritual. I was born playing with dead people and going multi-dimensional. I was a very sick child, left alone a lot. So a white room, this is why I'll never have white walls. I would go off onto dimensions elsewhere and kind of, why don't other people do it? So I knew I was always different, okay, that couldn't fit in. Then spent the years and years and years of wasted time trying to be what everybody else wanted me to be, accepted by society, only to find that my weirdness was just who I am and my
Mm,
strength in many,
yeah.
many ways, right? But it is the allowing yourself to be around that kind of chaos because you know you're centered. I went off center in trying to please other people. I lost my center and it took a
Yeah.
while to get back to it. Um, But when you are centered, it doesn't matter how, I call it the willow tree. I'm the willow tree, firmly rooted now at my age, a good thick trunk of a life experience, many branches, but they're incredibly flexible to whichever way the wind blows. And
Yes.
I think this is the thing in the chaos of life. Be flexible as to the way the wind blows, because as long as you're rooted and cored, right?
Yeah.
Those experiences that you experience as the wind takes you here, there, and everywhere is just wonderful experience and there for a reason or there for you to do because you're centered and you're cored.
Hmm.
But not getting off your center and core is very, very important. And I think a lot of
Yes.
people don't register how important that is or how to stay on core.
Or how to stay. How to stay. You write about this in the 262.
Mm,
What you're sharing reminds me, I read your story, and it was so celebratory of your returning to you recognizing that you had left yourself, abandoned yourself,
hmm
and came back. Because the longing is the soul. That's the soul
Yes,
communicating with us. That
yes,
longing is saying, something's missing.
I'm
You know,
missing.
I'm missing.
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Yes.
And
Beautiful.
it, it's this is the thing. A lot of people think, well, I'm 40 or I'm 50 and I should be doing this right. Well, put that shit somewhere else, right? Because again, that's an earthly lineage. Let's walk forward, blinkers on, don't step out of tune. I'm the cha-cha-cha and the tango all rolled into one, right? I'm everywhere, right? So little rumba as well. And the whole thing is, again, if you are centered and cord, you can
Yeah.
dance any dance, right? And it's how do you feel the music of life? How do you feel the rhythm? How do you
Mm.
allow it to move you and to flow with it? And I think one of the biggest problems for people is to understand we need to be in flow, always
Yes.
in flow. The oxygen, the blood in our body, the energy in our body needs to flow. When it doesn't flow and it stagnates, that's when we get dis-ease and
Yes.
start showing health problems.
Hmm. Hmm. I see this time and time again in my work. I see this in my just the and the level of attachment that
Mm,
people have to it. It's like I feel a lot. I
mm,
feel intensely. I'm an empath. I feel so much.
mhm.
My husband just earlier said, yeah, but that's who you are.
Yeah.
And you let those feelings flow through you.
hmm
So I was feeling overwhelmed, flooded by it. I was like, where am I
Yeah.
even going with all of this? And he's like, you always find your way through
hmm
because the commitment to that centering
hmm
is there. It's like you
Yes.
said, sometimes we spin, sometimes it's like, oh, I'm spiraling right now,
Mm,
right? And remembering my center is here is so reassuring for me.
yeah.
It's just knowing that's there and I've touched it and I've touched it. And when I say to people that, that pendulum swing between those extremes, it lessens.
Yes.
That
Yes.
state of tight contraction, it lessens because you know you're there.
hmm
It's not like someone that's been in a state of contraction now for months and for years and it's developing in disease. It's like I have a client who's a year in recovery from breast cancer.
hmm
And she'll get these spurs of fear. like just little symptoms of something. Oh my God, what if that's coming back? And the spirit said to her, it's like in combined channeling with counseling, and they said to her, "You're not the same person.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're not contracting to the, like, yes, there's contractions, but what do you do with it? What do you do?" She says, "Well, I'm practicing awareness and I'm breathing." And then she started pointing out everything that she's not doing out of obligation, not doing out of I have to, but because now that's just as ingrained.
Yes. It's a part of her breathing, so to speak. And when you
Yes.
take these practices in, you know, I have to remind myself now and again, tapping works for me, right?
Mm.
And now and again, I have to go, Sarah, why aren't you tapping? You've got a problem. You're feeling anxious. Tap, right? It's
Yeah.
it's a way of calming the mind and body down, so the spirit can really come in and show you the path, right?
Hmm.
Because half the time the answer's right in front of us. There's the doorknob. Just turn the knob. Where's the door?
Yeah.
Where's the door? I can't
Uh, yes.
find the door.
So do you
And
have that way of recentering for you?
but
And
has it,
tap.
but it does have, you do have to work on it for it not to become a discipline, but to become the obvious option.
Yes. Yeah, that's it. To work, you do it, you practice it. It takes a bit, yeah, it takes a bit of work initially to learn and integrate.
Yeah. And then it just becomes part of your practice, like you brush your teeth, wash your hair, etc. It just becomes a part of it. And
Yeah.
then you kind of reckon, I mean, you know, how many times do we say to people, take a breath?
Hmm.
And, you
Hmm.
know, breathing is something that is always indicative to us to where you are,
Yeah.
right? And breathing too fast, take a breath. Getting boiled up, take a breath. Feeling
Yeah.
anxious, take a breath, right?
Yes.
Needing to center yourself, take a breath.
Hmm.
And that, you know, that is one of the first steps of just calming down so you can hear the message that it's all right. Okay. You're just reacting to something.
Yeah, just yes. And if you're with someone, like earlier when you said that even asking them to take a breath is
Mhm.
the wide tap of, is
Yeah.
too big of a flow
Yeah.
and they react to that, is breathe for them.
Yeah. Be
Oh,
the rhythm that they match.
yeah.
Hmm.
So you see somebody spinning, somebody reacting, ground,
Yeah.
be in your body,
Because their
center
spin
your
will naturally
channeling.
want to, like an axis, want to go to that calmness, right?
Yeah, otherwise we're joining them. It's like,
Yeah.
calm down so I can be calm with you.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's a wonderful monk I had on here, Michel Pascal, and he said, meditation, just sitting on your legs in peace and quiet, doesn't work because it doesn't work when you're out in the chaos. So
Yeah.
he takes people into Times Square amongst all the chaos and shows them how to be the mountain amongst the chaos, and is
Mm.
how to breathe and be centered no matter what's going on around you. And I think this is where kind of we've got it wrong in many ways with the meditation. Silence, calm, and peace. No, the silence, calm, and peace was within you and should be
Yes.
accessible no matter where you are.
Oh, that is rich. You know, there's something that fascinates me, is from all different walks of life, from Buddhism, Christianity, from paganism, and
Mm,
Wiccan, and I'll just name off, you know, like psycho spiritual practices. There is this key message, because I learned about this in my hypnotherapy training.
mhm,
We were, I think, a few sessions in a series of the training, and there was some construction going on next door. I'm like, well, how are we going to do this? Because we're at that stage in the lesson where our teacher was going to induce us. Oh, there's so much noise. And he had us pay attention to the noise.
Yeah.
And so he said, yeah, just bring your attention to the noise and relate and have a relationship with it and connect with it, so that it knows and you know that it's looking after the peripheral.
Hmm.
And that was it.
Mm.
Suggestion.
Yeah.
The noise, all that hammering next door, and he named it and he named it and he named it, is looking after the external so that you can go in.
Mm.
It's like we can say that to our fears and anxieties. So, oh, fear and anxiety.
Hmm.
Thank you so much for being the guard at the gate of my temple. You've got this. Now I'm going to go in for deeper knowing, deeper guidance that is always here, always exists.
And even though, quote, quote, there's dragon in the cave where everybody fears, the
Yeah.
dragon just wants to be loved too. Go
Yeah.
in with the love, with the peace. Show that
And
dragon the aura of peace and love. And it'll roll over and want its belly tickled, because quite
mm,
honestly, we make enemies out of everything when
oh,
half the time all it wants is to be recognized and loved.
yes, yes. And dragon energy. I love that you brought that up. I love it. It's so much fun.
I mean, dragon year
Um,
too. Good year. My daughter's a dragon.
well, it's the digester.
Mm,
It digests those complex, dense energies, the excess energy, the excessness that fear produces, the excessness
mhm.
that anger produces, the excessness that hurt and pain and suffering produces. It just digests that. But we need to go in for that.
Yeah.
We can't do that if we're simply active and outward and producing. And I get
Yeah.
lost there. I get
Yeah.
lost there, and then I stop and go, what's my why? I forgot my why.
Yeah.
Why am I doing this?
Yes. Yeah. Which actually kind of makes sense because my daughter's a dragon year and she works with people who have had brain injuries. And her younger son has Down syndrome. And, like, there couldn't be a better parent for it, her and her husband,
Mm,
because of the way she approaches it.
yes.
Right. And everything, it is what it is, and this is what we're going to do. Right. It's not, yeah, she gets, occasional emotion. Obviously, everybody does, especially with fatigue. And I gave him
Yes.
my cold, sorry. But generally, I pick up every single thing the little ones give me because the little
Oh,
petri dishes, right? So,
yes.
so she said, payback. But it's, you'll see how some people can work with these people and some people can work with those people. Like, I can never do that. And when you look deeper as to who these people are, you understand they were designed for that,
Hmm.
right? In their star, solar, zodiac, cosmic, whatever human design, they were
Yes.
designed to be that. And we're all designed for something. It isn't to pigeonhole us. It's back to the orchestra, right? This
Yes.
is our instrument. We can play it as a soloist and sound beautiful. But when we come together with an orchestra and play harmoniously together, we can transcend and we can play many pieces of music in many different ways because we're versatile. But this is our instrument.
Yes. And our life is a process of fine tuning it,
Yeah.
learning
Yeah.
to play it with greater grace.
Yes. Grace was in my mind too. Yes, Grace. Because, I love interviewing musicians. They're already soul and spirit attached, right? They are the music completely. And so all it is how they manage to maneuver through life playing their music or being their
Mm,
music. And it's like if we could attach ourselves in that way to being our own music, being our own instrument, which then is we're radiating from the core out. The
yes.
core being of who we are is like beep, 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 beep going out there. So it's a beautiful place to be when we get there, isn't it?
And we need to be there because it feeds not only ourselves, it feeds
Mm,
the earth, it feeds the collective. There's a chapter in my book on soul purpose.
hmm.
And one of the things that I explore is this misconception. Soul purpose is often seen as mastering
Yeah.
something like that, and it's often seen as a vocation. And the message that I share is, you know, a single dad, sole purpose may be motherhood.
Yeah. Yeah.
So a
Mm-hmm.
musician setting out to do that for work, their sole purpose may be teaching.
Mm-hmm.
Their sole purpose may have to do with persevering through setbacks.
Yeah.
And out of that perseverance, now they're affecting change for the next generation.
Yes. Yes.
We just can't see it here and now.
No.
We see things in such a linear way. We see things as, success looks a certain way. And I'm guilty of that too. Like, I'll measure my worth based on how much I produce, how much I make, and then I stop. Like, you're doing that again, Linda.
No.
And it's not inspiring me. It doesn't. It doesn't
No.
inspire me to create, to
No.
write. It doesn't inspire me to create art, and it doesn't inspire me to live from that center
Yeah.
when I'm off, caught up ahead of myself that way.
For most spiritual people, the economy
Yeah.
of livelihood is extremely hard because we're here to do this work, and that already is the e-commerce. The enrichment is in the abundance of igniting a heart and soul,
Yeah.
of somebody else rising up. That's where the true economy of humanity is. But we
Yeah.
do need this thing called money in order to continue our work, roof over our head, food in our stomach, etc. And
Mhm.
that is a really hard detachment. And I think that is detachment has come from this expectation. But are you making money out of it? I get this asked all the time because I only do my shows through donation. And it's, but why aren't you charging this? And I said, because I don't want to be limited. People
Yeah.
will pay what they can afford, and those that can pay more do. Right. But this is, but you've got to do this. I said, no, my core pushes me back every time. Every time you say, I've got to do this and I've got to charge that, I am tasked with getting your wisdom out to the world, to those that are ready to hear it. Right. And
Mhm.
monitor amount of money in order to keep the station going. Yes.
Mhm.
But we're still in that spiritual thing of how do we navigate the money? And it's, I think what we have to start looking at, money is a tool. Just as this computer is a tool to help me
Yes.
interview you, just as the site is a tool for you to find the wisdom, it's a tool. And if we look at it as that and not define ourselves as, I have this amount of money, 6 figures, or I have this
Mhm.
amount of followers, but how many
Yes.
people are you actually engaged with?
Mhm.
How many people are you truly connecting? And we talked about this before because we both were there at the mission accepted 262 signing, and it was very loud. And I would love to have had sat down and had a conversation with you, but it was very loud, and that's a challenge for me on two levels. One, I talking above the sound, in fact, it triggers my asthma, but on the other side, it just with the senses, it's too much
Yeah.
for me, definitely.
Mhm.
Um, but the same principle around that is. Um, what noise are we getting from other people of
Mm.
you've got to do this and you've got to do that and you'll only be this and that if you do this? No, when you are truly enriched in your core and you're abundant, the money
Yeah.
will find a way. And yes, you can ask for a certain amount because it isn't a question of your human value, right?
Mm.
It is the respect of the value of what you're contributing. Money has to be a tool that is there, but we need to look at it differently. I won't, I've been defined a great deal in my life
Yeah.
with money through the lack of it. You
Mm.
give too much away, Sarah. Why do you give so much away? Because that's my purpose.
And
That's
it's
what
your
I'm here to
joy in
do.
it.
It's my joy, my purpose, my
Mm.
calling, right? I'm compelled to do this because it's my being to do so. But we still have this human thing, don't we? It's either got to be the money or that many likes or that approval. And that is
It's
something holds us back.
a measurement and a linear
Mm,
perspective of time and space and value.
mhm,
And someone has said to me a long time ago, when I was looking at the prices of my work, and I'd use something like, well, a deservingness.
mhm,
As a business coach, and she says, this is not about deserving.
mhm.
It's about what do you need to sustain
Yes, the
the work,
sustain. Yeah,
to
yeah.
sustain it. Now, based on how many sessions I can do, or anything, the sell of the book, new members in my group, like, and in my group, because the mentorship is something that I'm just I've created as something I call the Soul Circle, and it's a monthly session, live session on Zoom, and then a portal where people can meet and where there's a growing library of inspiring content. And I started it in January, so it's just going to grow at the pace it needs to grow.
And once you
And
get to the island, it will grow physically too.
yeah,
The vibe on the island is really conducive to that.
oh, I'm so excited. I'm so looking for. Yes, I'm excited. It's there. I feel it. I feel it.
It's something
It's
to
there.
look forward to. That is it's a new piece of music in your orchestra.
Yes. And well, as I'm growing the
Mm,
circle, one of the questions I've had to ask myself, what sustains us? Because
mm,
right now, financially,
yeah.
it's covering the expenses, sort
Yes.
of. So if I get stuck there,
Yeah.
well, this is not sustainable, then because look at my shoulders, just my
Yes.
shoulders
Yes.
lift up, I get tense, my neck starts to
Mm-hmm.
hurt, and I start to feel like I'm doing it all wrong. And I've
Mm-hmm.
had to, you know, and it's key people have reflected that back to me. What other ways it's sustaining you? I'm like, well, I'm learning so much in this environment and I'm connecting with key people and
Yeah.
I'm seeing so much growth.
Yes.
Like some of the members they see me one on one, and what they're gaining in that group is
Mm-hmm.
helping them in the one, it's helping, it's unbelievable the level
The
of
game, the
revelation,
expansion.
the
Right.
expansion, that's
Yes.
it.
Mm.
So I'm like, that sustains me because
Yes.
now we're
Yes.
expanding together and that's where I thrive.
Mm-hmm.
It's like
That's
if
the
we're an
true abundance,
introvert,
right?
yes, that's it. That's it. That's the truth. It's like for an introvert, I thrive in mutual expansion. So not
You've just
just
said
solo.
something for an introvert.
Yeah.
People expect me to be, I'm extroverted, right? Because I can
Yeah.
be in certain areas, but I am introverted, right?
Hmm.
It's just certain areas, the extroverts of Sarah, in other words, the full tap of Sarah can come on.
Yeah.
Otherwise,
Yes.
it's back there as the introvertedness. Do you find that's for you? The introvertedness is where you almost recharge, recenter, regroup that energy in order for you to extrovert out.
Yes. Yes. There's different versions. There's extroverted introvert. There's the introvert. There's ambivert and omnivert. It's really
Mm,
interesting. So the ambivert is someone that can be recharges in both
yeah.
easily. And I tend towards more I need to be alone to recharge,
Hmm.
but I also need to talk through my feelings to recharge, which is an extroverted thing.
Ah.
So I refer to myself more as an omnivert, which is that I have a loose valve and I don't know where I'm going to be what. It's like I'll be the life of the party. I'll be the
Yes.
total life of the party, but then I'll disappear for weeks and people don't hear from me.
Yeah. Yes. Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I can find myself like that, and I do recharge. Like I have literally done my shows when I've had COVID. -4 in my office. My last place was like that.
Oh,
I'm just right now because I've moved closer to my grandchildren. I haven't been full blast on my shows because I've been looking after him. My little one got sick
mhm.
with hand, foot, and mouth, and he got viral pneumonia, and the poor little thing.
Oh,
Mum and dad were working, so I had to take the slack. And but then I go, sorry, I have to change dates. Otherwise, you get me snotty nose and everything else through these shows. But I have done it, and I have found I feel like a piece of dot dash dash that, and at the end of it, I feel fantastic. But it's like holding on
mhm.
to that energy, depending where you're at. It's then
Yeah.
then I go into seclusion. So yeah, it is funny. We see a lot of people that are very what I call sugar hide, and I've had them on the show where they come in, they're rah-rahs. right? They come in, they're rah-rah, they're not conversationalists. They've got a speech, and this is where they're going to get it. And then it's like at the end of that, full stop, poof, drop,
Yes. Yeah.
right? And that isn't sustainable. And it's not sustainable to even hear.
Hmm.
It's too much. And then,
Yeah.
oh, at the end of it. So back to the rhythm of life. We've got to know our rhythm, don't we?
And that's what we're tapping into here, the rhythm of learning about each other, sharing um, values that are important to us, and sharing it with your readership
Yeah.
so that they too can partake in this, what I call an uplifting.
Yeah.
We're uplifting one another. Like when we can really have our full tap flowing through us,
Yeah.
we we lift one another.
Hmm.
And I think
Hmm.
that's so important. And
Yes.
then you said so many gems that I needed to remember. I needed to hear those parts of me, those the
Hmm.
cell structure in me that are connected to the past trauma. Needed to hear about your excitement with your move and how you moved to your sanctuary. Like, Linda, that's what we're doing.
Yeah.
Now I needed to hear that. Like we need
And
to
you know, part
be.
of the the struggle in moving is finding the right place.
Yeah.
And again, with the universe, this place, my kids bought this for me because they wanted me near. I mean, how lucky am I? Um, when they first put the offer in, somebody beat them out. And then we
Mm.
went looking elsewhere, and then she called me and said, they backed out. It's ours. And it, you know, we had looked around at apartments, and I tell you, every apartment was at the end of the corridor, and all I could see was the shining kids coming towards me. And I thought, how am I going to manage carrying two babies up there and groceries? And they said, this is meant to be my forever home, right? You know, and it's like you walk in and you feel like this because everything's so small. And it's like, I'm actually in a mobile home that is over 1,000 square feet with a monkey puzzle tree outside here, deer roaming around the back, you know, trees
Oh,
all around me. And
wonderful.
I have got all the space that I need, and it's bright and it's breezy, and I can't get rid of the grandkids now because they want to be at grandma's all the time. And it's finding a place I could take a deep breath in. Ah. And this is
That's
the first time living on my own in 43 years. And people said, well, aren't you going to be lonely? No, no. I'm finally with myself and I'm not
mm,
beholden to pleasing someone else.
mm,
Right? It's like the Sarah time. And yes, you know, packing up and moving. Yeah, you know, that ain't fun. But the
no.
fun part, I had stuff that was in storage that has been in storage since 2007. And I've been unpacking it, and the kids have been finding, oh, look at this drawing, look at this, look at that. And it's been like, you know,
Ah,
going down memory lane, and there's something really exciting about it. So yeah, it's you know, it's like anything. You got to go through the unpleasant, the uncomfortable to
mhm.
get to that point where you can go in, ah,
Yeah.
shoulders are down, everything is relaxed. I'm
Yeah.
home.
Stay with it all
Yeah.
throughout the journey. Stay with it. Come
You know,
back to
there's
center and
a great
stay.
new movie come out, you know, Inside Out. And when Inside Out 1 came out, which I
I
think
write
was
that.
15 or 16, I recommended it to a few psychologists and psychiatrists I was interviewing. They saying, thank you, we're going to use this movie in our practice. And of course, now 2 has come out, and it's dealing with the kid with puberty because it's all around her emotions. And what they've done is taken the everyday emotions and bottled them, and anxiety and depression have stepped in, and uh, and it's kind of really smart of them to do this because we've seen anxiety and depression and almost apathy
Yeah.
step in a great deal. And again, that is still part of a transition. Don't get lost in it, right? It's a
Yes.
part of you going through, keep going through those emotions to get to the other side. And especially don't give into apathy.
Yeah. Stay the course.
Mm.
And it's understandable that there is so much anxiety when we're trying to aspire to this false version of who we are. It's
Yes.
understandable that there's depression when there's so much suffering in the world.
Yeah.
It's not even our own.
Mm-hmm.
There's people dying in other countries. There's
Yeah.
war. There's we live in intense
Yeah.
times. And I just said something to my husband. It's like, well, it's kind of hard to step up and dream
Mm-hmm.
when I know I have sisters and brothers, like,
Yeah.
and metaphorically speaking, dying in other
Yeah.
countries, suffering where they don't have food. And I'm looking at myself, and he's looking at me, and I'm looking at where my thoughts are. It's like, okay, this is too close, Linda. This is
Mm-hmm.
too close. This is not compassion. This is feeling helpless.
Mm-hmm.
And is that helping?
Mm-hmm.
Does that serve anything? What is that creating? And going back to the Spirit's message, Massey's message of living wholeheartedly. Am I being wholehearted in that moment when I'm comparing and feeling hopeless and helpless and feeling what's the point to anything that I do? This is still going on in the world. Then I know, okay, now I'm flooded.
Yes. Yes.
So stay with the floodedness. Stay with that. I mean, I can't rationalize myself out of it. I'm
Mm-hmm.
too stubborn. so so I
What
don't.
you gonna do about it?
Yeah, I don't, just like there's no appeasing it. I just get to watch, stay, observe, notice my body language, and notice where my thoughts are going. Stay with that feeling. Know that it's been there a long time, and it's been there longer than me.
Yeah.
It was in my mother, it was in my father, it was in
Mm-hmm.
the, it's like, this is so old, so old. And this too needs love.
Mm-hmm.
This too needs acceptance. Like, helplessness, you're here. What can I do for you?
Yeah.
Okay. And when I'm that when we listen to depression, when we listen to that despondency, when we listen to discouragement, when we listen to apathy, for me, often it's saying, could you please stop? Stop. I need to rest.
Yeah.
I need to actually do less right now.
Mm-hmm.
I need to actually not think about any of this. I need to let this be going on in the world. And trust in the power of healing, because that's who I am. That's my purpose. Trust in that healing is about loving what is. So it's not my job to make that which is going on in the world wrong.
Mm-hmm.
It's not my purpose. My purpose is to see it, accept it, bring love to it,
Mm-hmm.
which is
Mm-hmm.
forgiveness,
Mm-hmm.
which is having compassion for perpetrators and the victims.
Mm-hmm.
It's both. It's no, there's a conflict here that this world does not know. We're still so young. Our
Yes.
collective is still so young. We don't know yet how to accept each other's differences. And this is how it's showing up.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And to let my sorrow through,
Yeah.
let it move through, because it's there. Let it move through.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, that sorrow needs reassurance. And I can't tell that sorrow, well, this is going to be better.
Yeah.
Like that person in deep depression, we can't say this
No.
is going to get better. This is okay. But we can go close and closer and closer and closer to, yeah, that dragon and that core of that depression, creation, that core of chaos. And know there's something here beyond what our minds can fathom.
Yeah.
There's something going on. There's an expansion taking place
Mm-hmm.
through this destruction, through the chaos, through the messiness. And out of it, like the phoenix rises,
Mm-hmm.
out of it, a new pattern emerges.
Yes. And our job is to hold space for that spiritual love. for
Yes.
others to feel safe in their own spiritual love, because the more we rise up to that frequency, the more we rise up to that cosmic self-love, the more we actually become the healing of the planet.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
all we can do for people that are suffering out there is what I call white light them,
Hmm.
sending
Hmm.
white light of love. And we cannot help people. I call it again the sunny side of the street. You have the sunny side of the street, you have the main street and the dark side. I can't go into the dark and pull people out,
No.
right? It's the caterpillar syndrome. They've got to go through the
Hmm.
metamorphosis. But if they're on the street looking lost, I can extend my hand because they're ready. And
Yes.
all I'm here to do is share with them what I did or
Hmm.
what others have done.
Yeah.
And just to switch on, ignite the heart and soul, switch it on to a point that they begin to feel and begin to wish to explore their own journey, their own meaningful purpose, their own light, right? All we
Yes.
can do is
Hmm.
hold space of them,
Yeah.
give them a backpack of wisdom along the way, cheer them along the way, pick them up when they fall down, but they've got to walk it. Whatever that road is, bumpy, straight, windy, they've got to walk it, but to know they're not walking it alone. The divine is
Hmm.
with them, and the divine
Hmm.
is with them with people like yourself that are here to help them on that journey of expansion.
Yeah. Back to how much the spiritual guidance is so needed
Mm,
right now for us to be able to do just that,
yeah.
to hold space in that field of love, in that field of expansion, that field of awakened consciousness that the earth needs
Mm.
us, needs us, these light beings to hold that space.
We are the love, we are the peace we seek. When we are that, in that resonance, we are the invitation, right?
Hmm.
Because we become that light that sheds light on others and the desire to become the light themselves. But that's their journey, that's their
Yeah.
free will. We're just
Yeah.
here to support it. But the more and more people that choose to take this journey, the more and more we will become the healing solution for the planet. The universe gave me a saying about 6.5 years ago. The universe is going to shake us up, to
Hmm.
wake us up, for us to step up and change it up and grow up vibrationally, but also
Yeah.
grow up.
Yeah.
Let's stop making a soap opera drama over everything and look at the experience that we've had as something. Okay, why am I having this experience? What am I meant to learn? How
Hmm.
can I take the benefits from this experience forward? And how can I leave the pain behind?
Hmm.
Right? So it's understanding universe and everybody's not out to get you. It's
Yeah.
just out to teach you.
Out to teach you. Well, we are the center of the universe. You, center of your universe. I, the center of my universe. And we're magnets.
Yes.
So everything's in divine order.
Yeah.
I try to remember that when I'm quick to, oh, this isn't working, that's wrong, or
Mm.
whatever. It's like, there's a divine order. It's bigger than what mind can fathom.
Step out of yourself.
Hmm.
Look at it from over here.
Yeah.
Allow yourself to see what is really there. And sometimes we don't see it, we feel it. We don't really understand what the feeling is, but stay with it. It will
Yeah.
reveal itself. But we dictate. I feel so many people do step into spirituality and they're dictating how it should be. Spirituality and dictation do not go
There's
together. It's
nothing.
oil and water.
There's
Not going to work.
something. No, Massey and Dia, the Spirit Side channel, they taught me this years ago. They they don't want to be our authority.
Mm,
But
hmm.
being their authority doesn't work either.
No.
They're seeking partnership, and that's the same
Yes.
thing with our infinite being. Our spiritual self seeks partnership with the human nature. So I
Mm,
say to people, say, we're not, this concept of being um, spirits having a human experience. I say to people, yeah, and we're human beings experiencing spiritual emergence.
yes.
And I add that piece because I want to honor
Hmm.
this human experience. Because this feeling quality, that's the gift. That's
Yes.
it.
Yes.
This
Yes.
being
Yes.
able to feel our emotions, have all these polarities, these contrasting elements that make the whole. That's part of it.
Yeah.
And here we are trying to decide we're just going to be calm or we're
Mm.
just going to be happy.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, we're happy and scared.
Yes.
We're
It's
calm
knowing what
and
fear
agitated.
is. Yeah.
It's having a relationship with it.
Yeah. Yeah. And I did fight it for a long time. I much preferred being a cosmic being. And it's like, do I have to really live on this
Yeah,
planet? You know,
yeah.
kicking and
Oh,
screaming.
oh yeah.
And until I just surrendered.
Hmm.
And I became, and then everything I touched, tasted, felt, and held had a different meaning.
Oh, indeed. It's what we bring to it, eh? You made it, you brought a different intention, a different vision, choosing to allow and everything. And then there's so much more to see and sense
Yeah.
all the time. And when we make decisions about that, we're narrowing our focus. When we
Hmm.
make interpretations,
Hmm.
when we control it, we're just narrowing that.
What control do we have?
Oh, no
We think
kidding.
we're in control. No, the only thing we have control of is what we're going to do with it. That's
What we're
all.
going to do with it,
Yeah.
how we're going to maneuver and adapt, and what we're going to create with it. And as an artist, I know, and as a writer too,
Hmm.
it's those mistakes,
Yeah.
quote unquote, air
Yes.
quotes here, that bring about the next paragraph, that
Hmm.
that bring about the next stroke of paint. You know, this is
Yes.
it's like I do collaborative work with my husband, his photography and my painting in it. And I ended up putting a lot of texture in and I covered a lot of his photograph. And afterwards, I'm like, oh my God, I covered too much. What am I going to do? And it challenged me so much. This is some of the work we do is a breeze, but this
Mm.
challenged me so much. How do I bring in my abstract impressionism with his photography? How do I maintain the integrity of his photograph?
Mm.
Covering so much of his photograph and struggle, 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 struggle. And then, oh, then something comes out of it.
Yeah.
Some some stroke of the palette knife, a different color, a different lightning, and it's like, oh. And I start to have an experience with his photograph.
Yeah.
I go back to his work and I realize what his work has just um, created a rippling through me. I mean, his
Mm.
work has
Ignited.
affected,
Hmm.
ignited something, you know, that if I just tried to stay true to the photograph as it is, I wouldn't have let that happen.
Yeah. Yes. Conforming, right?
Yeah.
Rather than creating. Um, I don't know how you wrote your book. I know when I wrote my memoir, I had all these plans. I'm going to audio it and they're going to do this and do that. And then I just took 3 weeks off work and I put my fingers to the keyboard and stepped out of the way.
Ah.
And, you know, my brother is a professional, he's a professor, a mastery of literature. And so I had him edit it. And he was, you know, he, he and I are such different writers. I'm a flow writer, I'm a spiritual writer. And when he writes spirit, it's always within the story, multi-dimensional, but there's always a structure to it, right? And
Mhm.
when you're authoring a book, yes, that's in his storyline, it need that. And I was surprised of his reaction. He said, there's so much loneliness here. And the loneliness was because I knew I was a spiritual being. I knew I was here to ignite heart and souls, but
Mm.
people were either drawn to me or
Yeah.
repelled from me.
Yes.
And so it made life lonely because you were never truly accepted for who you were because people didn't know who you were because they weren't there yet.
Mhm.
So,
Mhm.
what did you find about in writing in your own book that revealed things about yourself?
Oh, constantly being surprised. I started this book accepting a request from Spirit to
Hmm.
write a book. I naively thought I would channel a message edit it for legibility, and there, be
Mhm.
done. But they gave me incomplete messages.
Work out the puzzle.
Yeah, exactly. I had to work out the puzzle, and but in it, as I was working out that puzzle, I discovered things about myself. One, specifically, a chapter on faith. I started the chapter like a journal,
Mm,
questioning, why have the spirits asked me to write about faith? Don't they know I have no faith? And I'm convinced I don't have faith. Of all the people in the world, why have you decided to work with me? You know, this kind of idea. And as I was writing it, I started to describe faith as being the part of me that pulls the covers off the bed and says, "Get up, Linda. Get out of
mhm,
bed." Like, oh, wait a minute. I have lots of faith.
mhm.
And she shows up in these
Yeah,
ways.
just
Yeah.
not in the traditional sense. And
Yeah.
I think this is the thing. There's a lot of words that have been hijacked and have become this meaning or that meaning.
Yes.
And when we
Yeah.
choose to look at that word differently, what is the frequency that word is telling me? How do I digest that frequency and what does it bring to me in meaning? Right? And don't be so literal about everything or just so adoptive of somebody else's interpretation of it. Is what does it mean to you? And I think we don't question ourselves enough. And like, I mean, I love walking amongst the forest because the leaves are always talking to me. And of course, water, the conduit, of the
Mm.
water. It's fantastic. And wind, I love wind because it's always blowing away the cobwebs and blowing you in the right direction. So those three things are very, very important, which I have all around me, which is fantastic. But it's about the fluidity of movement. Our bodies need to move, our minds need to move, our spirit needs to move. And are we getting stuck in something that's keeping us rigid and
Oh.
defined in one thing,
Mhm.
or are we allowing to look at it in a different way that ignites the flow?
I was just thinking of that the other day, how certain words have been co-opted, like the word awakening.
Mm,
It's become quite
yes,
popular. And it becomes something to get. uh,
yes, rather than to be. Yeah,
and it becomes an identity,
yeah, yeah,
um, and an idea, a notion.
yeah.
So yeah, I love what
A
you're
fad.
saying. And a fad.
Yeah,
But can we come back and feel, yeah, what
yes.
a word like faith,
Mm.
like in one of the chapters, I explore how, oh goodness, just give me a second here. I'm about to run out of battery. Do some editing. Just realized that. And looking at the time here.
This is the practical side of things, folks. It doesn't matter how our spirit goes off. There are the practical things, so tools like computers that we need to plug in now and again.
It was around words. Oh, and there's a chapter where I talk about forgiveness.
Big one.
And a key message is that forgiveness is not tolerance.
Mm,
So that's another word
mm.
through a lot of religious dogma that has been understood as having to put up with.
Yes,
To forgive is somehow to let people abuse us. Well, it's not.
but also guilt associated with forgiveness, right?
Yeah.
I'm forgiving myself of the guilt. Well, what guilt? If we knowingly go and hurt someone, then the guilt applies. But if we unknowingly do something that hurts someone, the forgiveness we're
Mhm.
asking is of our ignorance. Now I know
Yeah.
better. I can
Mm.
do better. But if I am meant to be shrouded in guilt, how am I ever going to expand and move forward?
Yeah. We can't, but we can take the guilt by the hand, the
Hmm.
shadow aspect,
Hmm.
become more familiar, more aware of it. My father lived with so much unconscious guilt. It's not that he didn't know about it, but it was so lodged there
Yeah.
that it created a wall between him and I.
Hmm.
Guilt that came from before I was born. Oh, just held
I
on
know,
to
and
it.
what is that guilt? Societal expectation and dictation of how we should live and who we should be. Well, I'm taking that bull and I'm chucking it into the furnace because I am tired of people telling me who and what I should be. I am you who I am, Popeye, right? And and you can take me or leave me. I won't be offended.
Yeah.
And when we
Mhm.
stop people pleasing, or look at how
Yeah.
many likes have I got?
Oh.
How many people like this? How many people followed that? How many people like that? People say to me, how many people listen to your shows? I said, all those that are ready to hear.
Mhm.
It is
Mhm.
about listen, learn, and apply. This is a huge library here. I've just had my 11th year of my own podcast, my own network. Um, it's here, I hope, for many more years. It's in the will for it to be kept going afterwards because I don't want to lose the wisdom. And when somebody's ready to hear this message, they
Mhm.
will find this show and it'll be what they're needing to learn at this time.
Yeah.
We can't dictate who, what, when, and what they do with it.
Well, what I would like to impart, what I'd like to leave your reader with, your listener with, is your reader, your listener.
Reader as well, read the
Yeah.
books
Yeah, yeah.
and listen.
Is to explore
Yeah.
what what does sustenance really look like? Whatever your endeavor,
Mm.
what sustains it? And it's not always monetary. It
Yeah.
can be. I mean, we yes, we need it. I pay the mortgage and pay
Hmm.
for the vehicle and pay
Hmm.
for
Food in the belly.
the and the apps to do this work,
Yes.
and to enjoy life,
Yeah.
to savor life. To savor life, we need to be embodying the quality of savoring.
Hmm.
And if we're working hard toward something, what we're doing is working.
Hmm.
It's like a donkey with a carrot. We're working, we manifest more working, and then we
Yeah.
manifest more working, and we manifest more working. We're not manifesting the quality of a desire because we're not in touch with it.
No.
So back to developing an intimate relationship with longing, which is in mystical intimacy. That's why I've called it mystical intimacy, because that's the intimacy. It's with our soul selves.
Yeah.
And it's savoring everything that shows up, savoring it. It's not deciding this feeling is better than the other.
Hmm.
It's savoring all the feelings so that they can transform through us because they need to move. Everything
Yeah.
we talked about, it, everything needs to flow.
Hmm.
So what sustains that?
Hmm.
For me, it's support. I can't do this on my own. I
We're not
need,
meant to either, are we?
no,
How
no,
can you be an orchestra on your own?
no, exactly. Just like this conversation. Is this mirroring back my wisdom to me, mirroring back your wisdom to you, so so that we can live that more?
Yeah. Be it, not do
Yeah,
it,
yeah.
right?
Really
That's,
embody.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I think this is, we're not wanting you to do it, right? There's a certain things that you need to do to become it, right? Because what it's doing is resetting you to your core. But when you are with your core and you have ignited your heart and soul and you're living from your spirit, right? Your mind will know what it needs to know when it needs to know it.
Mhm.
And then you are being. We are being creatures, not doing creatures, right? And
Yeah.
when we're
Mhm.
doing from that being place, all we're doing is expanding our beingness.
When we're doing from the being place, we're expanding our beingness. Then the actions, the words, the creations come from that source
Yeah.
self.
It's that beautiful boop pulse that goes out there that resonates. And right, like,
Exactly.
it's the Beach Boys had to write good, good, good vibrations. We need more of those in the world. How do people get hold of you and be a part of your courses? What is the plan there? Also, your book. Do you have it with you?
Oh, let me get it.
Because I've got it behind me here.
Me too.
Yeah,
Me too. Here we go. You can
there we
see that.
go.
It's
Mystical
Mystical
June.
Intimacy is available on Amazon.ca or .com, and also at Banyan Books in Vancouver, BC.
Lovely bookstore if you're around BC, go to it. Yeah.
Yeah. My website is lindanardelli.com. That's two L's. And
Nardelli, folks.
yeah, and Linda with an I. And I offer one-on-one sessions. So I refer to my work as body soul integration. It's spiritual counseling with channeling. So I work in tandem with spirit. Spirit communicate directly through me. So it's a combination of a reading and a somatic process work, which is so needed for
Yeah.
transformation. And I do that in a group setting, which is the Body Soul Circle. It's my membership that we meet once a month for an hour and a half. And there's a space, a portal to share with others. And they can get my weekly oracle as well. I do a pick a door weekly oracle that's just, it's fun. It's a way to connect with a channel guidance weekly. So that's available on my website.
And you have a free gift here too.
I do, the
Oh,
weekly
wow.
oracle.
So if you come to her show page, all you have to do is selfdiscoverywisdom.com and put a Linda, Linda, Nardelli, Nardelli. You will find her show page here. You'll find where the books are. And not forget, The Mission Accepted. She's in this book as well. I contributed into there, which is 262 women sharing their beautiful space, their beautiful heart and soul. And but this was a great project, and because of all the, this is how we met, is through all the wonderful summits that she did and bringing people together and expanding out. And I have a Mission 262 page where you can see all of the authors that I've interviewed, which is juicy and wonderful and lovely. And you will see why they're in the book, but also why it's important, even more so now, to have more books. I'm in, people know that I'm in producing books now. The last one was our Forgotten Children's book series, and we're about to go into Mastering Self-Discovery coaching book. And the reason why I do that is because you've listened to the podcast, which I hope that you listen as a group, have a podcast party. Everybody listen, share your notes afterwards, because then you're getting a beautiful rounded picture. It's a wonderful thing to do. But also the books then extend the story, extend the how, allow people to connect even more. So it's really important that, both book and podcasts are listened to, because they are deeper or rounder or from a different aspect. And that's what we want to do. Keep the story going. Keep the conversation going.
Yes.
Give people permission, which they don't need. They need to give themselves permission to hear the story, to speak the story, to become their own story, because this is what it's all about. And we're doing it here through the podcast, and you're doing it here through your beautiful program and through your books. And it's all about igniting our heart and soul, letting go, right? The beautiful song. Why was that song so important? Let go, letting go, letting go, because we want you to let go of societal's expectation and dictation and truly immerse yourself into who you really are and what you're really here to do. And you'll discover that it's really a beautiful place to be when you're at home and centered with self. Linda, thank you so much for sharing here today.
Oh, it's been my pleasure and an honor. Thank you.
Been absolutely wonderful. Folks, drip at a time, turn the tap up a little bit more of a gush. We're not asking you to go full flow yet, but at least turn the tap on. Until next time, bye for now. We hope that you enjoyed the show. There are so many more for you here on selfdiscoverywisdom.com. Just go to the podcast tag at the top there, and you will see all the many genres and all 3,000 shows ready for your listening. We are here to serve you, to help you on your journey of life, and we know that through inspiration, it begets invitation. We are supported by you, the listeners, and those that we interview. Anything that you can spare us in donation would be greatly accepted, and we do hope that you enjoy the next show.